This is the reason Dodge dealerships keep dancing around your transmission instead of telling owners exactly what's sitting underneath their Charger. Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Chrysler vehicles ended up using one of the most successful automatic transmissions ever built. And once billions of dollars entered the picture, the branding around it started getting very careful. And when issues appear, that electronic mechatronics unit becomes a $1,000 conversation nobody prepared for. Back in 2008, ZF introduced the 8-HP transmission in the BMW 760 Li, which became the first production transmission using ZF's patented 8-speed gearset design. Drivers noticed the difference almost immediately because the shifts felt quicker, the power delivery stayed smooth, and fuel economy improved compared to older transmissions already on the market. What nobody expected was how fast the design would spread. ZF's 8-HP transmission eventually appeared in vehicles from BMW, Jaguar, Aston Martin, Rolls-Royce, and several high-end SUVs, while Chrysler licensed the same engineering and began producing its own versions in Kokomo, Indiana, during 2013 under the TorqueFlite name. That single move connected Dodge muscle cars to the exact same transmission family found in luxury vehicles, costing well into six figures. Most Dodge owners never hear that part clearly explained. Instead, dealerships throw around names like 850RE, 845RE, 8HP70, 8HP75, or simply TorqueFlite 8. Which leaves owners thinking they are all completely different transmissions. The problem is, many of them trace directly back to the same ZF architecture, and even longtime Dodge owners on forums eventually discover that Chrysler's TorqueFlite branding came from licensed ZF engineering underneath. And that's where the confusion starts getting expensive. ZF already carried a reputation for premium German engineering before Dodge entered the picture, while Chrysler leaned heavily into the historic TorqueFlite name because it sounded connected to classic Mopar heritage. The result was a strange split where two companies marketed nearly the same transmission design in completely different ways, even though the core engineering stayed closely related. Now, under Stellantis ownership, this branding confusion persists across their entire portfolio in 2024. By 2023, worldwide production of the ZF 8-HP transmission had climbed past 15 million units. That number alone explains why nearly every major automaker started paying attention, because transmissions rarely spread across that many brands unless they consistently deliver results drivers actually notice, and the numbers behind it looked strong. According to information published by Chrysler and ZF in 2013, the 8-HP transmission improved fuel economy by roughly 6% compared to the older ZF 6-HP transmission, while stop-start systems could push gains as high as 11%. Shift times also dropped to around 200 milliseconds, which meant the transmission reacted fast enough for performance driving while still behaving smoothly during normal daily traffic. That balance changed everything. Automakers during the late 2000s and early 2010s were chasing better fuel economy numbers while emissions rules tightened around the world, and the ZF 8-HP suddenly solved multiple problems at once. Drivers received faster shifting performance, manufacturers improved efficiency ratings, and luxury brands gained a transmission that handled high horsepower without feeling clunky. Chrysler moved quickly after seeing that success. A joint venture plant connected to ZF and Chrysler opened in Gray Court, South Carolina during 2012, and by the following year, licensed production had already started in Kokomo, Indiana. Once manufacturing scaled up, the transmission family started appearing across Dodge Chargers, Challengers, Durangos, Ram trucks, Jeep Grand Cherokees, and even the Chrysler 300 at a pace most owners never realized was happening. That included serious performance cars too. Scat Packs, 5.7 Hemi Chargers paired with the 8HP70 Challenger models, and even Hellcat variants using stronger versions like the 8HP 980. all tied back to the same transmission family. The 8HP 990 specifically handles up to 1,000 Newton-meters of torque, which explains why it appears in everything from 6.4 Hemi applications to luxury performance SUVs. Underneath the Dodge branding sat a gearbox sharing roots with luxury sedans, performance SUVs, and some of the most expensive vehicles sold anywhere in the world. But here's the thing: dealerships rarely explain clearly, and maintenance became a major argument almost immediately. ZF published service recommendations for transmission fluid changes, and many owners online regularly reference intervals around 60,000 miles. Meanwhile, some dealerships promoted lifetime fluid language on certain applications, which created years of disagreement between owners trying to figure out when servicing should actually happen. ZEF recommends 60,000-mile intervals, while Chrysler says lifetime fluid, and that contradiction leaves owners confused until problems start showing up. And this is where frustration really started building. Transmission replacements can become extremely expensive once warranty coverage disappears, and many owners discovered far too late that they were driving a ZF-derived unit requiring maintenance discussions nobody at the dealership had fully explained up front. Symptoms like transmission slipping, shudder on acceleration, or delayed engagement often trace back to that valve body mechatronics unit or torque converter issues that could have been prevented with proper servicing. Online forums across Dodge, Ram, Jeep, and Chrysler communities filled with owners comparing service advice because answers changed depending on who they talked to. The naming confusion only made that worse. One owner hears 850RE, another hears 8HP50. Somebody else gets told they have a TorqueFlite transmission entirely unrelated to ZF engineering, and eventually forum threads start connecting the dots. Again and again, discussions across Dodge and Jeep communities circle back to the same conclusion. Chrysler produced licensed versions of the ZF design under different naming systems. That reputation kept growing online. Across enthusiast forums, many drivers started calling the ZF 8HP one of the best production automatic transmissions ever built because it succeeded in trucks, muscle cars, luxury sedans, and high-performance applications at the same time. Few modern transmissions manage to spread across that many categories without developing a reputation for smooth shifting and strong overall drivability. None of that stopped the debates. Owners still argue over whether Chrysler-built versions behave exactly like German-built ZF units, while others insist small differences exist depending on manufacturing location, tuning, generation, or gear ratios. The discussions continue because branding blurred the line enough that many drivers never realized how connected these transmissions actually were. What stays fully verified is simple. The ZF 8HP became one of the most influential automatic transmission designs of the modern era, starting in Germany before quietly expanding into Dodge muscle cars, Ram trucks, Jeeps, luxury sedans, and performance SUVs across the world. Millions of drivers ended up using the same transmission family without ever knowing the engineering underneath their vehicle traced back to one of the biggest transmission success stories the automotive industry has ever seen. So when a dealership casually tells you your Charger uses a TorqueFlite transmission, understand what's really hiding underneath the badge. Behind the Mopar branding sits a transmission platform that's spread across more than 20 automotive brands, crossed into luxury and performance markets, and turned into one of the most successful gearbox designs ever produced. What makes the entire situation even stranger is how many Dodge owners only discover the ZF connection after transmission problems begin showing up. Somebody brings their Charger or Durango into a dealership, hears terms like sealed transmission or lifetime fluid, then later jumps online and finds BMW owners talking about servicing nearly the same transmission family completely differently. That realization sends people down a rabbit hole because suddenly the same gearbox sitting in a Dodge muscle car also exists in luxury vehicles, from brands charging 2 or 3 times the price. And that discovery changed the reputation of the transmission world itself. Before the 8HP arrived, automatic transmissions usually carried a trade-off somewhere. Either they shifted smoothly but felt slow, or they handled power well but drove rough during normal traffic. The ZF-8HP managed to break through both problems at once, which explains why it quietly spread from Rolls-Royce sedans to Hellcats without most drivers ever noticing they were connected. Millions of people bought vehicles believing they were getting completely different technology, when underneath, many of them were relying on the exact same transmission formula that turned into a multi-billion-dollar empire for the automotive industry.